They say weddings bring people together, but they don't talk about what happens when the past shows up, uninvited and dressed in a tuxedo. My name is Lauren, and up until 6 months ago, I thought I knew what friendship meant. I believed in loyalty, in boundaries, in second chances. I was the kind of person who went all out for the people I loved. Birthdays, heartbreaks, midnight phone calls. If you were my friend, I showed up for you. That's exactly why, when my best friend Naomi asked me to be her maid of honor, I didn't hesitate. We'd been close since college, sorority sisters, roommates, co-founders of a short-lived food blog. Through bad boyfriends and bad haircuts, Naomi had always been my ride or die. Of course I'll do it, I said, laughing when she popped the question over mimosas. As long as you don't make me wear something with ruffles. I had no idea how much I'd regret saying yes. The planning started immediately. Naomi wanted an elegant barn wedding with string lights, dusty blue dresses, and a Pinterest-perfect aesthetic. The kind of wedding that looked effortlessly romantic but cost more than my car. I threw myself into it, venue scouting, invitation design, bachelorette party themes. I even helped her deal with her notoriously difficult mother, who thought the entire wedding should be held at their family's country club. I still hadn't met the groom, which in hindsight was strange. She talked about him in vague, glowing terms. He's amazing, so driven, so mature. But whenever I asked for more, she brushed it off. You'll meet him soon. I just want it to be special when you do. I chalked it up to nerves. Maybe she wanted to wait until things were locked in before the introductions. Or maybe he was shy. Some couples are like that, protective of their bubble. I didn't push. Besides, I trusted her. That trust? It was about to implode. The day I met him started like any other bridal meeting. Naomi had scheduled a cake tasting with her fiancé and wanted me to tag along. I arrived early because I'm that kind of friend and grabbed us a table at this charming little bakery that smelled like vanilla and cinnamon and fresh betrayal. I looked up when the bell over the door rang, and my heart stopped. Walking toward me was Ethan. Not just any Ethan. My Ethan. The man who ghosted me 4 years ago. The man I'd lived with, loved, thought I'd marry. The man who disappeared without warning, taking half our apartment's furniture and leaving behind a post-it note that said, "I'm sorry. I can't do this." I hadn't seen or heard from him since. And now he was walking into a bakery, wearing an engagement ring on his finger, holding the hand of my best friend. He looked stunned, too. His eyes widened. His jaw twitched. I watched a flicker of panic race across his face before he masked it with a tight, forced smile. "Lauren," Naomi beamed. "This is Ethan. Ethan, this is Lauren, my maid of honor and favorite human." I stood up slowly, pulse hammering in my throat. He extended his hand. I ignored it. "Hi," I said flatly. "Hey," he replied, voice strained. "Wow. Small world." Naomi laughed, oblivious. "Isn't that funny? I knew you two would hit it off." "Hit it off?" We'd hit a lot of things, but that ship had sunk. I sat through that cake tasting in a daze. Naomi didn't notice. She was too busy debating vanilla bean versus champagne mousse. Ethan barely made eye contact with me, and when he did, it was full of guilt. I excused myself halfway through and stood in the bathroom, gripping the sink, staring at my reflection like it might have answers. What the hell was going on? Was this a prank? Did Naomi know? Had he told her? And if he hadn't, why the hell not? When I got home, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened the dusty old box at the back of my closet, the one labeled "Do Not Open." It held everything from my past life with Ethan. Photos, receipts, a concert ticket from the night he first said, "I love you." and a breakup note written on a sticky square. I stared at that note, feeling something shift. This wasn't just awkward. It wasn't just a coincidence. This was a betrayal, one I had no intention of keeping quiet about. I didn't sleep that night. I laid there in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it all. My Ethan, was engaged to Naomi, and somehow she had no idea about our history. Or at least, that's what I wanted to believe. Because the alternative, that she knew and kept it from me, that was worse. I tried to remember the timeline. When had she started dating this mystery man? She said they met through a work event. But Naomi worked in PR. Events were constant. No names. No photos. Just vague smiles and coy jokes about not jinxing it. How had I not figured it out? Then again, Ethan had vanished. No social media. No mutual friends. No clues. He'd erased himself from my life so completely that I stopped looking. Until he showed up with a diamond ring and a bride I called my best friend. The next morning, I sent Naomi a text. Hey, yesterday was a lot. Mind if we grab coffee soon? Just us? She replied instantly. Of course. Tomorrow morning? Miss you already. She was still clueless, or pretending to be. We met at our usual cafe, Neutral Ground. I wore sunglasses, though it was cloudy. Not because I was hiding. I just didn't want her to see the storm brewing behind my eyes. She hugged me like nothing was wrong. So, I said as we sat down, you and Ethan, you never told me how you met. She sipped her latte. It was a weird coincidence, actually. I was consulting for a tech company last year, and he was there doing some sort of transition work. He was quiet but funny. At first, I didn't even notice him. Then we had this late-night elevator ride, and he made some dumb joke about elevator music. I laughed way too hard. The rest is history. Did he ever mention the city he lived in before? She shook her head. Not really. He said he moved around a lot. Kind of a loner until recently. Did he ever mention me? Her brow furrowed. You? No, why would he? I took a deep breath. Because we dated for 3 years. We lived together. And then he disappeared on me without a word. She blinked, set her cup down slowly. I'm not kidding, Naomi. That man you're marrying is the same guy who broke my heart and ghosted me. I haven't seen him since. Until yesterday. Her face turned pale. You're serious? I nodded. I wish I wasn't. She stared at the table, the wheels in her mind turning. He never told me your last name. He said his last relationship was short and ended amicably. Well, he lied. She looked up. Why didn't you say something yesterday? Because I was in shock. Because I didn't want to ruin your day. Because I wanted to believe there was some logical explanation for all this. And now I think you deserve the truth. I don't know what kind of man he is now, but I know who he was then, and you need to ask yourself if that's the person you want to marry. She didn't respond right away. We sat there in silence, 2 women bound by the same man's deception. Finally, she said, I need to talk to him. I think you should. I didn't tell her what I was planning next, because while Naomi was deciding whether to walk down the aisle, I was already digging into Ethan's past, and I was about to find a whole lot more than just lies. I spent the next 2 days doing something I never thought I'd do again, investigating Ethan. I wasn't being petty. This wasn't about jealousy. This was about truth. Naomi was more than a friend. She was family, and if she was about to commit to a man who'd once destroyed me, she deserved to know everything. So, I started where every modern spy does, social media. He didn't have Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Typical. Ethan always hated being tracked. But I remembered he had a sister, Madeline, who once tagged him in a photo years ago. I searched her name. Bingo. Her profile was private, but one of her pictures was public. A family barbecue. 3 weeks ago. And in the background, holding a drink and wearing a smug little grin, Ethan. No mention of Naomi in the caption. No engagement ring on his hand. Just him and another woman sitting very close. I zoomed in. Hand on his knee. Laughter between them. Not Naomi. My stomach flipped. Who was she? I kept digging. After a reverse image search, I found her, Caroline Brooks. She was tagged in a local charity event photo with Ethan just 2 months prior. The comments told me everything. You and Ethan look so good together. You two make such a cute couple. My blood ran cold. I screenshotted everything. Was Ethan cheating? Living a double life? Or was Naomi the side piece in his eyes? Whatever it wasn't right. I wasn't going to barge into her apartment with theories. I needed proof. So I reached out to Caroline. I created a fake account, posing as a wedding planner scouting influencers. I complimented her charity work. I asked about her partner for a feature post. She was flattered, overshared. My boyfriend Ethan and I have been together for a little over a year now. We're pretty private, but he's such a sweet guy. He even said he'd never been engaged before. He wanted to take things slow with me. Never been engaged? I nearly dropped my phone. He was telling 2 different women 2 different stories at the same time. I printed every message, every photo, every screenshot, and assembled them like a case file. Then I called Naomi. Hey, I know you said you wanted space, but I really think you need to see something. There was a pause. Then come over. Her face when she read through the file. Heartbreaking. She didn't cry at first. She just sat there, flipping through the pages, shaking her head. Then she whispered, I feel like I don't know him at all. You don't, I said gently. Neither did I. She looked up at me. He told me he'd never been in a serious relationship before, that he got scared of commitment until he met me. I shook my head. He said the same to Caroline. The next morning, Naomi called off the engagement. No big announcement. No drama. Just a simple message to Ethan, we're done. He tried to call. She didn't answer. But I wasn't finished. Because what Ethan did wasn't just emotional damage. It was calculated. And people like that, they don't just walk away without consequences. Naomi was hurt, sure, but she was also furious. He fooled me. Lied to me. Lied to her, she said, pacing her living room. And he thinks he gets to just move on. Again, I looked her dead in the eye. Not this time. That night, we came up with a plan, not to be cruel, but to hold Ethan accountable in a way he'd never expect. We weren't going to post a revenge rant or blow up his phone. No, we were going to expose him. Quietly, thoroughly, publicly. First, Naomi reached out to Caroline, this time as herself. She sent a short, polite message. Hi, Caroline. I thought you might want to know that the man you've been dating, Ethan, proposed to me 2 weeks ago. We've been together for over a year. I'm only telling you because I wish someone had told me sooner. It didn't take long for Caroline to respond. One word. What? Followed by a flurry of questions, screenshots, tears. She was devastated, but she was also brave and angry. She agreed to help us take him down. Phase 2, tell the truth. Caroline made a TikTok video. Nothing dramatic. Just a calm retelling of how she discovered her boyfriend was living a double life. She didn't name names, but people recognized him, especially Naomi's friends. And mine. Then Naomi posted her own follow-up, a soft-spoken video talking about what it felt like to nearly marry a man who had vanished from another woman's life years before, only to reappear in hers with a new face, a new story, and the same old lies. The videos went viral. Hashtag Runaway Romeo started trending locally. Women began commenting, OMG, I dated an Ethan that sounds just like this. Did he live in Denver last year? I think I met him on Hinge. The puzzle pieces were falling into place. Phase 3, Professional Consequences. Naomi knew where Ethan worked, an early-stage startup in marketing tech. She sent a formal complaint to HR with a timeline of his dishonesty, backed by witness statements and documented lies that showed he used fake references and a false resume. Guess what? He had lied about his past roles. He listed companies he never worked at, titles he never earned. They suspended him immediately. By the end of the week, he was fired. The final nail in the coffin, a friend of mine worked at a local wedding magazine. I shared the entire saga, anonymously, of course, and they turned it into a long-form feature about emotional fraud and double lives. It exploded. The story was everywhere. And Ethan? He went radio silent. Naomi and I, oddly enough, became even closer after it all. She thanked me one night, teary-eyed, holding a glass of wine. If it weren't for you, I would have married a ghost. I smiled. Funny, I used to think I lost everything when he disappeared. Turns out I dodged a bullet. But the story wasn't over. Because one day, weeks later, I got a letter. A real one. Mailed to my apartment. No return address. Inside was a single note, scribbled in Ethan's handwriting. I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to be the man you needed. I guess I still don't. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just fed it into the shredder. Because now I didn't know who he really was. And I wasn't that woman anymore. There's something strange about finding closure after years of silence. It doesn't come like a thunderclap or a sudden exhale. It's quieter than that. It creeps in during normal things. Grocery shopping, washing your face, reading a book on the balcony. And one morning, that's when I realized. I hadn't thought about Ethan in 3 days. 3 whole days without replaying the betrayal. Without scrolling obsessively. Without feeling like the universe owed me some explanation. That was healing. Naomi and I decided to take a trip together, not to escape, but to celebrate freedom. We went to a cabin in the mountains. No Wi-Fi, just books, hot cocoa, and silence. It was peaceful. The kind of peace you don't even realize you need until you finally have it. One night, sitting under a million stars, Naomi asked me, if you could go back and change anything, would you? I thought about it for a long time. About the pain, the confusion, the sleepless nights and unanswered questions. And I said no, because if Ethan hadn't walked away from me, if he hadn't tricked Naomi, if he hadn't been the tornado that ripped through both our lives, I wouldn't be sitting under that sky. Stronger, clearer, unbreakable. After we got back, I started something new, a blog. At first, it was just for me. A private journal with a password-protected page. But then Naomi read one of the entries. You need to post these, she said. Other people need to hear this. So I did. The blog grew. Then came a podcast. Then came messages from women all over the world. Your story gave me the courage to walk away from someone toxic. I realized I was ignoring red flags for too long. Thank you for making me feel less alone. That's when it hit me. My story wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to everyone who had ever loved the wrong person. Everyone who had been betrayed. Everyone who deserved better. A year later, Naomi met someone new. Kind. Sincere. Boring in the best possible way. She asked me to be her maid of honor again. And this time it felt right. There were no ghosts, no secrets, just a friend holding another friend's hand at the start of something beautiful. As for Ethan, he never resurfaced. Not really. Maybe he moved, changed his name, found someone else to trick. But I didn't care anymore, because I wasn't the girl he left behind. I was the woman who learned how to rebuild. Stronger, wiser, and finally free. Thank you for watching this story from Red Flag Diaries. If you felt this one hit close to home, or if you just love a good plot twist, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss a new upload. And remember, some endings are actually new beginnings in disguise. See you in the next one.